Building the Muay Thai Baiju bottle because I'm making a secondary cardboard structure to go around that. So this is more of a placeholder. So I just separated this little tutorial out to show how I built this and to map the label on it. This will be relatively simple. It's just two revolves, one for the closure and one for the body, and I'll close them off. And then I'm going to map the label on. So let's go back to the beginning. So I found this image online, and it's the best, flattest picture I could find. I still have a little bit of a perspective going on with that. So it's not perfect, but it'll be okay. So I'm going to trace this with line work, and I'm actually going to trim out this label and use that to map onto the bottle. So with this here, I said let's go into view wireframe. So here's my line work. So all I did was I traced this over that photograph of the bottle up at the top. So I did these separately and stitched them together. And I did that right over the rendered view because you can't see that unless you have it in a rendered view. So let me move in here so you can see very subtly this line work here. So there it is. I built that and connected them together and then use that for a revolve. So let's go into perspective. And we can go back into wireframe. So for revolve, let me put in the revolve command. Revolve, and we're going to do, that's it, revolve, plain revolve. So if I select this whole line here and then enter, and I'm going to select the center point. I'm going to start at the bottom, it's snapping at the bottom, and I'm going to go to the top and snap. So that's my center line, and I'm going to click out here. I have orthographics on, so it's going to be snapping as I turn. See if there's 90 degrees, there's another 90, and it's coming around, and then it's coming all the way around to the side. So I'm going to click and enter, and there is the revolve. So let's do the one at the top, same time. So I'm going to put the revolve command back in. Oops. Revolve, select this, and I'm going to select that same center point. I got to enter, select the same center point here, here. And then I'm going to select out here, and then I'm going to do that same revolve all the way around. Click, enter. So now I have those two. So let's go into shaded mode. Let's render. We don't need rendered. Shaded. Okay, so here are the two objects. So we have to cap them off. There's a couple ways you can do that, but I'm just going to go right to the it's in the surface tools. No, it might be in the solid tools. Right here, we have this tool called cap planar holes. So you can put the command in. I'm just going to select that tool right here. So if I select this object and then enter, it automatically closes the top and the bottom because they're planar holes. They're not an organic type of cut. It's a flat hole. So that works very easily. I'm going to do that again for the bottom one. And let's take a look. And it has closed it top and bottom. The reason I'm doing that is because I am going to radius this edge on the bottom and this radius at the top here. So we need to have that as a solid object so we can do that. So the next one is to go into fillet. This is a fillet edge. So I'm going to select this edge right here, enter. And then I have these two handles, these little white dots. So let's move in a little bit. I'm going to select that first dot out here on the edge and then press enter. And then I'm going to select this other dot on the inside so I can move this. And it's going to give me my radius. So I believe I did this, I don't remember how big it was, about a quarter inch. And it's now softened that edge at the top there. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So we go to fillet, fillet edge. I'm going to select this edge, enter. select the first handle, enter, and then pull that back out. And I believe this was a little bit less or similar. I'm snapping to something here. It's about a quarter. This, enter. It's not radius, it's that bottom edge. And then we did a little radius here at the top. Let's see here. Fillet, edge, and select this edge here. Enter. First handle. Enter. This was pretty small. This might be like 60 thousandths. Okay, so that's the bottle all ready to go. So the next part was to put the label on. Oops, I lost my bottle. Let's take that. I'm just going to change layer. Put that in this next part. Change. Okay. So now we have the whole part. Okay, let's take a look at this in rendered. So I just created this gold color at the top in my color specifier, and this red part is just a separate piece of geometry. I just made a little cylinder there and just made it the color. There are graphics on some of these components, but I'm letting that go for now. I'm just going to put the label on. So to put a label on, we need to select the object, and then we go under our properties, and then we have this little green square here, which is our decals. And then we have the plus signs. If you click on that plus sign, you can go bring in texture map. So here's the little label I cut from that photograph I had of the bottle. And I'm going to do this cylindrically. Okay. This part gets a little confusing. We have controls to configure the position of the label on the bottle after we position it, but we need to get it on your perpendicular. So there's a few things we have to do. So I'm going to try to select that bottom disc right there on center. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to come out here and select here. But now I need to get this to be perpendicular. So I'm going to try to select this center line that I have up here. And I believe that's it right there. This is critical. You might have to experiment a little bit. So I'm going to click on that line, and I think this is going to give me perpendicular. So let's go like this, and then it's sort of asking me how I want to map this around. So I'm just sort of guessing because I'm going to be able to control this after. Click here, and then now we have it on there. So it's a little crazy. It's a little wonky. It's all over the place, but we can control that. So we have these this dialog box over here. So we have X, Y, and Z coordinates. We have start and end, which is how far it's wrapping around the bottle. And then we have the height of the actual label. Those are the things we're going to deal with. So let's start to work on these. At the height, I believe I was at 4.38, if I remember correctly. So that'll be a start. Now up here in X, Y, and Z, the Z coordinates is the bottom one. I'm just going to start clicking down to move the label down onto the body of the bottle, which is about there. So now the label is wrapped around. It's sort of on the side. And that's where these two start and end numbers come in about how we're wrapping it around. So negative would be over to the left-hand side of the bottle. So I'm going to do negative 60 degrees. And then I believe I went positive 60 to the other side. So it was like 120 degrees total wrap. So you have to play with those numbers to get that into position. So that's about where it is. And a good test is I'm just going to look at the front. Nope, the top, one front. And then that's about where it is. That looks about right, like the photograph that I had. So I'm going to just deselect. Okay, so that's bringing in the label. So I'm going to use this in another tutorial to build a secondary structure that goes around the outside.